Tell me what you know about the microbiome.
Well, I read I contain multitudes, which I feel like puts me...
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a pretty sciencey book.
Yeah, Ed Yong's book.
We like him.
We love him.
Do you have a tissue over there? I'm
Oh,
so
I have
sorry. I
endless
just spilled
tissues.
and I don't want to let it soak. You know how it goes.
Are you coming in from San Francisco?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are. And are you
Okay.
well versed in LA or no?
My husband grew up here. He grew up in Palos Verdes, so I know
he's
that
fancy.
area a little bit. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, it's really nice over there. But
Yeah.
other than
God,
that, I
yeah.
don't know.
Really
a lot.
nice.
Yeah.
There's also that incredibly interesting community they've been studying for a long time. Do you know about that in Palos Verdes? There's like a retirement community that they have incredible data. The whole community agreed to be a part of some long-term study. So they know
Oh, wow.
there's like a lot of gerontology studies happening in Palos Verdes.
Wow.
I wish I could
His
remember the name of the
parents are
neighborhood.
Part of them.
And what's he up to? What's your husband do?
He is an ER physician.
Wow.
Yes, and
That's pretty hot.
It was crazy during COVID. Like if we can remember back when COVID first started, and we didn't know anything about it or how it spread. Anything. I remember he came home from work. I had started this company, so I'm like an entrepreneur startup, which is like some work.
Yeah. A bit of work.
And we had 2 small children, and I remember he came home from work one day. He kept his backpack on, and he was like, should I check into a hotel? Because like a lot of doctors are doing that because they're like, I don't want to bring this home to my family and my kids. Yeah. And I said, you said till death do us part. And we're either all dying together, but like you don't get to go live in a hotel while I have to like raise these people and like do the work.
Yeah.
No, that's too much.
Yeah, so he stayed. And, but yeah, that's the craziest. That was the craziest.
Have you been watching The Pit?
No, we are not allowed to watch anything like work related at home.
Sure, that's a good
But
rule,
The
Yeah.
Pit's so
probably.
good.
Yeah.
Noah Wiley.
Yeah, I heard it's actually really accurate too.
Yeah, exactly. And that first season is in COVID.
Oh, it is? Oh,
In
God,
the
that would probably
ER.
trigger a lot of bad stuff for us.
And Dr. Mike is a consultant on it.
Oh,
That's why it's so
my
good.
God.
So this company almost didn't make it through COVID because I was like, all right, well, if one of us has to give up,
Oh, sure.
like, it'll be me.
Yeah.
But luckily, I'm not like a super good parent, so I kept the company going.
Good. You gotta put your mask on first.
That's
they
right.
say.
Yes, that's right, yes.
You do, and I imagine you in particular, you do forget the notion that if something horrendous were to spread, the doctors are the ones that are going to see it first. Like you take that on, you kind of you're not really
Before they know what it is, they're
yes.
exposed.
Someone's
yeah.
if someone gets something, obviously they're going to turn up at a hospital, and then
Yeah.
everyone that you kind of
First people
underestimate
exposed, I know.
that. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Atlanta.
Oh, my gosh. I'm from Georgia as well.
Oh, you are?
Yes, I'm from Duluth.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I grew up, in Atlanta, and my parents live in Marietta now.
Oh, my gosh. What high school did you go to?
Westminster?
Oh, fancy.
It's nice too.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
I
nice.
really
This
don't
is
like the way I'm being
fancy.
cast here. I
your
feel
husband,
like there's
yeah.
we're normal. Yeah.
No,
What-
you're very normal.
What did your parents do?
My dad, he worked at IBM for a really long time.
Okay.
And then he went to do like a small group of them after they all got laid off, went and like fixed up startup companies and sold them back to companies like IBM and Apple. And then he did what his lifelong dream was, which he became a professor at like a local community college. He like always wanted to be a teacher, but he felt like he had to work to like make money for the family. And so his like retirement gig for 20 years was professor. And now he's like fully retired.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then my mom was like a consultant.
She was.
A retirement gig is being a professor. That's like my dad's idea of retirement.
Yeah, her father's just now retiring as an engineer.
Yeah.
And he
Does he want
immediately
to be a teacher?
started right back the next day.
He just can't retire.
Some people are really bad at retirement.
Yeah. I called them yesterday, or my mom was like, call, because we were at the Golden Globe. She wanted to hear about it. And, I FaceTime and she's like, Dad's in a meeting. I was like, he's in a meeting in his retirement.
He's retired. He's in a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, probably a lot of people want him to like consult on things and
Exactly.
stuff like that.
He's a consultant, in
Yeah.
quotes.
Yeah.
It just means they don't have to pay any of the other stuff. I
Yeah.
think. They don't have to pay into the disability or
That's right. No-
you're just
no
You're
insurance.
you're
Yeah.
a private contractor now.
Yeah.
And was he an engineer of some kind at IBM?
He was a computer
Science
science
person?
person. Yeah.
Okay, and so education prized, yeah?
Yeah. And also I'm Chinese.
You're not first generation, are you?
I always get confused. Does first generation mean
The one born here,
I was
right?
born here,
But they were not.
but they were not. So they're immigrants and I was born here.
So yeah, first gen.
It is a little confusing the way the gens.
Well, what else would
break
it be,
down.
guys?
No,
You could be the immigrant. You're like the first generation who came here.
come. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
I-
first
Oh, 'cause you can't come
born.
mid-generation. They're already alive.
But
right?
I'm half. I think I'm half because, like, yes, I am half.
She's not.
I am half
Her
because
mom did come here.
when she was 6.
Still doesn't. And rules her out as first.
Don't you
gen.
think that's like
see, I don't know. I feel like you're like second generation.
Thank you.
You guys are both way more entitled than I am to have an opinion on this.
Yeah,
but I will say, I think you technically have to be born here.
Okay. Fine.
All right.
Yeah.
But my parents were like, they were both born in China. And then when communism came, my mom's family fled to Taiwan. My dad's family fled to Japan. My dad grew up going to the American school in Japan. So he's kind of like first generation, but it was American school.
Right.
And then they both moved to the States and met there. So like they're kind of like double immigrants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what year would he have gone to Japan?
He was there like right after World War II.
Okay.
And he grew up there. And then he came here and like went to college in the US.
Were they loving Chinese in Japan back then?
No, because basically the Japanese were on their knees like after World War II.
Okay.
And he was in the consulate.
Oh, his father, your grandfather?
Yeah, the reason they fled is because they were anti-communists. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they fled. And so they were in the consulate in Japan as representatives for, I guess, Taiwan really at that point.
Right.
And so my dad, and he kind of grew up in a little bit of a bubble going to the American school.
Yeah.
Right.
All his friends are like
Brits
Europeans
and
and Americans.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't.
Yeah. So you're 1.5 too.
I think so too. Yeah.
I'm gonna go along with whatever the verdict was.
The reason is because I think kind of what you're getting at is culturally, because your mom came here when she was 6 and my dad grew up in the American school in Japan, like, for example, yes, education was important, but I was just talking to somebody about this. My parents, like when you're a kid and you're trying to make decisions about stuff, you're like, should I do this or should I do that? They were always about like, well, what's going to make you the happiest? Like what will make you unhappy? What will you regret?
That's
like,
not a...
That's not
That's
a...
not
we don't
rare.
do
That's
that.
rare for
No.
a first gen.
Right.
Which you also benefited from.
I did also benefit.
right.
And here we get into the problem of stereotypes. It's so multifaceted and so dynamic. Also, her father happens to be from an area of India, Kerala, where it's kind of matriarchal, and he also had older sisters. Like, there's a lot that goes into
Yeah,
the
everyone's
stew
their
of
own
how,
person, I
right?
guess.
Yeah, but we can go with stereotypes. It's fine.
We got in this fight one time. I said, if I saw your father do something that was completely insane to me, like I had never seen it in my life, I would immediately deduce, it's probably something cultural from India.
Right.
And she's like, you can't do that.
I
Remember that
know.
little
Yeah, you said
thing?
if you saw him eating cereal weird or something, like with
Was
no
it
milk or like
cereal?
something.
Something we
It was
maybe
something
theorized that
asinine.
he was doing.
Yeah, that you would assume that was a cultural thing, which like I guess I get, but I don't like it. I'm pretty allergic
Here's
to
a good topic,
some of the
actually.
stereotypes.
We're on to something. This is actually a good
Okay,
topic.
great.
Because I would say, well, you tell me out of 10, her sensitivity to that, her fear of being generalized and being an outcast and excluded was quite high. A 10.
was a 10, yeah.
Well, you grew up in Duluth. Were there a lot of everybody's mostly white there?
It's very white. Yeah.
Increasingly, though, right, diverse?
Yeah, when I went to high school, it was very white. There were other people, other
Others.
ethnicities. No, there were other ethnicities there, but it was a small group, and they were all. If you were Asian, they were all like the smart kids in this. There's very few diversity in the like major population.
Yeah.
They were all on
Gen
the
pop.
periphery. Yeah, Gen Pop.
And do you feel like that contributes to the sensitivity of
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I was like, I was a cheerleader. I was trying to be so normal,
I'm
regular.
normal. Look at me. I'm like a white person, just like it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. But you didn't have that, maybe? Atlanta's more diverse.
Yeah, Atlanta's more, and I went to a really small school, so like everybody kind of knew each other. So and then there were only 4 Asians in my grade. And the 3 of them kind of hung out with each other. I feel like they were more ethnically Asian, and I was definitely
Right.
more like identified with the other kids. And so I didn't experience any racism growing up.
Wow.
People were super nice. I didn't have any issues. I don't feel like I was excluded from anything because of my race. And I feel like it's more of a black-white issue in Atlanta. Like Chinese people or whatever, sort of, at least at that time, they're like, whatever, you're just, like, you're not.
You're not the main
Yeah,
thing
you're not
we're
our problem.
focused on.
Right.
Or actually, I feel like that white people felt like, well, at least you're not black. And black people felt like, well, you're not white. So I got to hang out. I felt like I was most included.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
I have
makes
the
sense.
opposite feeling. I feel like because because I was in the middle somehow, I was like, well, you're not one of us, and then you're not one of us.
Oh, man.
So you're just like,
But
damn.
without minimizing
Yeah.
either person's experience, it's
Yeah.
just telling about how subjective the experience is and how perspective is so much of the whole experience.
Well, and how
Yeah.
individuals are experiencing things so differently.
But like two people caught in the middle of two predominant races, right? Like you got black, you got white. We're
Yeah.
this somewhere in the middle. And then you can have two drastically different conclusions, which like one is like, well, I don't fit in with either versus, oh, I'm not either group that's hated is a
Right.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that we would have opposite ones, even though we're both 1.5 generation.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah.
And then where did you go to college? I know ultimately you went to Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, so then I went to college at Wellesley outside Boston.
Okay.
That was terrible. It was cold. The winter was like, felt like gray was, and I actually had a Southern accent when I went to college, and I had like a professor pull me aside. He's like, it doesn't matter what you say, you sound like a moron. You need to get rid of that. And so I went to speech therapy to talk
In college.
like a normal person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like a Northerner, like a Yankee.
Well, like a Midwestern is actually the perfect English is what I was taught.
Yeah, that's newscaster.
And there's certain words I still have a hard time saying, but so that was Boston. Like, you're wrong, and it's cold, and you know, and so I was like, okay.
I got to get out of here.
And then I went to Baltimore, which I actually loved Baltimore. Baltimore is running this like multi-generational experiment where they have integrated low-income housing and high-income housing,
Yeah.
which just means there's like low-income housing and then like lowish income housing.
Right.
Because like all the people with high-income housing just sort of leave.
Yeah.
And then you're students or you're broke and you're like, I used to live like near school. And so it's kind of dangerous. Like my parents, when they dropped me off, we drove by the penitentiary with like all these guys with these huge guns. And my mom was like, so we're just going to leave her here
With her new accent,
with her new
her new newscaster accent.
the new her.
Or what if you just brought back the Southern accent once you got to Baltimore? Because they're like, you know what? You need to bring some of that Southern charm here.
But actually, I feel like now, circling back, now it's like really cool to have this sort of individualistic, like, oh, there's something different about you.
Yes,
Yeah.
as our culture has gotten homogenized through this online unity.
Yeah. Or it's like, what's special about you? Like my daughter just finished applying to college, or she started college, but it was like, yeah, what's special about you? Or what's happened in your life that's been, really unique? She's like, I mean, I'm 17, so nothing.
Right, yeah.
Like, nothing's happening and I'm not that unique.
When I moved here from Detroit in 1995, it was like we had our own music scene. We dressed different. There's none of that now. You're on
Yeah.
TikTok, so every teen, you're doing what everyone's doing in the
Yeah,
country.
it's like all melded together. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. I don't know that it's great. Regardless, okay. You ultimately ended up with a PhD in
My
microbiology.
PhD is in biochemistry and molecular biology. Whatever, you can say microbiology is the same.
Molecular biology.
Yeah.
Okay. What were you initially setting out to before you got captivated by your current?
Well, so
interest?
when I did my PhD work, it was in skin cancer. And like cancer is a pretty big thing that lots of people do research on. So I thought that was interesting. And then I did a postdoc at Northwestern, so I lived in Chicago. We were trying to look for markers for early detection of children's kidney tumors, so Wilms tumors.
Okay.
Then I moved out to the Bay Area. I worked in a pharma company. We were developing drugs for Parkinson's disease. And then I worked in a startup company, which is like what you do.
Yeah.
And I was running biology for like we were making a DNA sequencing instrument. So I didn't really know anything about the microbiome until actually I read a paper that got me excited about it, and I started this company.
What was the paper about?
It came from this professor at NYU, Marty Blazer, and he showed that babies who were 6 months and younger, who were on a lot of antibiotics, later in life were more prone to obesity and diabetes. And I had a preemie, 2 months premature, and she had been on antibiotics and all this stuff in the hospital before I took her home. And she was like in elementary school at that time, and she had these food sensitivities that
Allergies.
nobody else had. And I was like, this
Interesting.
is the march towards diabetes. And the Mayo Clinic actually repeated that study, and they showed that if you're under 2 and you're on a lot of antibiotics, you're not only more prone to obesity and diabetes, you're also more prone to allergies, depression, asthma, ADHD, Crohn's, celiac disease. So and it's all because when you're a baby, that antibiotic treatment is killing your microbiome. And for a lot of people, they can never recover it. So I was like, oh my gosh, we could start a company to help millions of people, including my own daughter, like and I had the technical knowledge with the sequencing and biology and all that to be able to do it. Yeah. And so that's what actually prompted me to start the company.
So cool.
You bring me to I Contain Multitudes. I really recommend that book. It's so great. It's all about microbes and their place in the world and all the animals around us. And they do these crazy experiments where they'll raise mice in a completely sterile environment where there'll be no microbes that get to them.
The bubble boy mice.
Yes. Yeah. And the things that happen immediately are staggering. And what a clever experiment. You can find out almost right away what kind of microbiome they have normally and what it does for them. So I don't think people would know. So we got to do a little bit. What is a microbe? What is, how have these come to live in concert with all these animals? And if you've not read that book, it's fascinating how interwoven we are with these bacteria.
Yeah, I mean, we've really co-evolved with them from day one. So yeah, your microbiome is all these bacteria and viruses and fungi. They live inside you, on you, like in all your nasal passages. It's sort of everywhere. And for the most part, they're actually really beneficial. We've co-evolved with them, meaning we're both getting benefit from hanging out together. But we as a society mostly try to kill them. And we've inadvertently, in trying to kill the ones that have created disease or infection, we've inadvertently ruined an entire ecosystem that's actually here to benefit our health. And it's only now that we're starting to understand what is the ecosystem, how can we bring it back after realizing that antibiotics can actually cause these long-term, problematic.
And the sterilizing of our environment.
Yeah, everybody buys antibacterial soap, antiseptic wipes. We're constantly trying to
It's the epitome of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? It's like you might isolate the single microbe you want to get rid of at the expense of 9,000 that are good.
Totally. It's like you go into your garden that you've been working on, you see a weed, and you're like, bleach the whole thing.
Right.
And so it's not that helpful for the garden. Yeah.
And to give people a sense of just how many microbes you have, they represent 1 to 3% of your total body mass. So 2 to 6 pounds you have of living microbes in you. And then even maybe crazier, because they don't weigh a lot, I guess, is they're 1 to 1, right? There's as many microbes as there are cells in our digestive tract.
Seems like that's the case. I mean, there's that, right? There's like how much they weigh. There's like, trillions or the 1-to-1 ratio. But also when you think about how small they are and the diversity of what they can do, like you just have your genes and you can like do the stuff with your genes. There are trillions of these things with like hundreds times more genes doing all kinds of stuff in your bodies.
Yeah, the amount of DNA that's floating around you, right?
The amount of DNA is like 100 times your genomic DNA.
It's crazy.
Why don't they pick up when they do these DNA swabs and stuff? Are they picking up the DNA of all these microbes when they do these? How are they delineating what's what?
Well, so technically the way that when you swab those, you are getting both microbes and human cells. Yeah. But human cells are more are easier to break open than microbes are. So the way that they process those and extract the DNA, the bacteria are mostly kept intact. So you're only extracting human DNA. If you want to extract microbial DNA, you actually have to do a lot more stuff to like break open their cells.
This is the breakthrough that we've recently come upon, is being able to DNA sequence these microbes.
Yeah.
When did that start and how did we figure that out?
Well, with DNA sequencing technology. So when I was working at this DNA sequencing company where we're making these instruments, that was sort of, those companies were the beginnings of the technology that enabled this science to exist. So if you look in like PubMed and you type in the word microbiome, before the year 2000, it's like a flat line at 0. And then you just start to see this exponential growth of publications and knowledge about the microbiome.
So about 25 years oldish.
About a 25-year-old science and medicine, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so one example I would say in the animal kingdom is like there's many, many animals that without the microbes in their stomach, they would immediately die. They don't digest the food that they're eating. Like they're completely reliant on these microbes in their stomachs. We're not as deep on that spectrum, are we? We're a little more independent in that respect or not?
Well, we have quite a few dependencies, but there are, like, I'll tell you this crazy story about, so hyenas. When an animal dies, there's all the animals that, like, get first dibs on it. And hyenas can, like, wait around until the carcass is basically rotting. And all the other animals are like, I'm not going to eat this, it's going to make me sick. Hyenas come in, that's when they come eat.
Yes,
Right.
And so their oral microbiome is super interesting. You're like, how are they not getting sick?
Yeah.
And so they have all these effectively antibiotics in their oral microbiome that are killing all those germs. So that's how they can eat this. Oh, wow. So there's this scientist, I met him very early on in the company, and he was researching hyena oral microbiome to understand, are there new antibiotics we can find in there? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And in the course of trying to, like, swab the mouth of a hyena, he got bit. So he goes to the ER and he's like, they're like, what happened? He's like, well, I got bit by a hyena. They're like, oh, we got to like put all these antibiotics. And he's like, no, I don't need any antibiotics because hyenas have like the cleanest mouths. Like this is not going to get infected. And they're like, what are you? Are you
out of your mind?
Like signed 10,000 waivers, and he never got any treatment.
Really?
And they just like put a bandage on it. I guess they sewed it up without any like like cleaning, and he was fine.
Wow.
He's like one of these scientists who, in fact, injected themselves with an early medicine and just waited to see what happened.
Yeah,
that's bonkers.
he's rogue.
Yeah.
Wow, but wouldn't he be worried that obviously the hyena's mouth is good, but like whatever it was eating would have bacteria, and then that would get in there.
There was like a few places where the judgment was a little weird.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, but I met him because he was like, oh, I want you to help me sequence these hyena microbiome because I want you to tell me like what's in there that's super different and interesting. And he tells this story, and I was like, okay. I mean, you're kind of like...
Yeah, you're out on a limb.
I know this about Komodo dragons. They don't have a poison, but they have so much bacteria in their mouth that when they bite their animals, that's what ends up kills them.
That's
right?
what kills them. Yeah. And I mean, I think probably we as humans in general, because we've like been living in shelter and things like that for a long time and been killing these bacteria for a long time, we're probably the most susceptible to any of these sort of, microbes or infections and things like that, because we've done the most to disrupt the system.
This just hit me. It was not in my notes, but we've been both dying to ask somebody who might know this. I find it very curious that all the primates eat each other's shit. Yeah. And that we are uniquely repulsed by shit. And my hunch is we're very weird in the animal kingdom that way. And I wonder at what point in our evolution did we start getting repelled by that smell? And I do wonder if it's when we started living in civilizations. And so what can we say about that? Do animals generally eat each other's?
They do. And like if you have a dog, like they're sniffing butts, like that's where they're getting all the information. But most animals are like, this is just part of like living and even like eating feces and rolling in it, like horses and like they roll in feces. So they roll in the mud.
We've been trained to think that's poison, but we can observe in other animals it's beneficial to them.
Yeah, but that's because like we started living together in small communities, and then it was kind of bad for us, right? Because when it's all together, like living among, because if you're an animal and you're roaming in the wild, you're moving around. You're not staying in this one spot, and all your like stool is in one spot.
Yes.
But which is why it's super interesting, like these fecal microbiome transplants, how people are like, that's terrible. But you're basically like, you're eating somebody else's shit.
Yes. Crapsole.
Yeah, crapsole. Yeah.
Yes, that's, I think, when we got curious about this world, is learning that, like, people with C. diff. So let's talk about C. diff a little bit. Very common in hospitals, very common if you're on a long-term antibiotic cycle. Yeah, my stepfather who died of prostate cancer, by the end, he had terrible C. diff, and it was explained that was just a result of having killed every other competing microbe. Is that why?
Yeah, like we all probably have C. diff right now inside us, and it's not a big deal, but it's the antibiotics kill off all the other guys. There's no competition, and then once the C. diff can just start to like reproduce, unchecked, then that's when it becomes toxic and problematic.
But they have a lot of success, right, with doing crapsules or stool
incredibly
implants.
The most successful treatment is fecal microbiome transplant, and like ironically the treatment for C. diff infection is more antibiotics, so they keep doing this. And then you have these people that have the recurring thing, and then you can imagine their C. diff is getting more and more resilient, and you're like basically training it to get be able to withstand all these antibiotics. But the fecal microbiome transplant, which is basically just flooding with competitors, that's the whole thing, is incredibly effective. And like the FDA tried to take it off because there was just people stormed the Capitol with their pitchforks.
It's got like a 90+% success rate or something.
Like a 97% success rate.
Versus virtually no success rate in the alternative strategies.
Well, and the thing is, like, if the other things, like the repercussions of a C. diff infection is death.
Yeah.
Because you can't absorb nutrients, right?
Right. And so you're like, well,
what's the risk?
Exactly. The downside's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that one got our attention. And then how substantiated are these links between depression, between obesity? How much do we know about this currently? It's always hard to figure out when you read a headline how much real science is in there. What do we know, and what's just kind of where we have a hunch?
The obesity one, we definitely have a lot of evidence on. And I think probably the most compelling thing is that there are 2 strains that we know to date that are able to directly stimulate your body's natural GLP-1. And that's literally how it works in you eat food, your microbiome digests it. You have these, group of strains that then stimulate GLP-1 production and then go help your body metabolize, through insulin release and then also tell your brain, hey, we're full. And that's actually how it's supposed to naturally work. And your GLP-1, of course, will go up and then it'll go back down. You'll get hungry again. You'll eat another meal. So that's actually your natural body system. And so that mechanism is known. It's very much linked to obesity.
Really quick, I'm so glad you said that because my dumb assumption, like Occam's razor, was like, oh, they don't have a microbe that's helping digest the food. They're not able to, process it and expel it as fast. But it's not even that. It's the communication with the brain telling you're not hungry.
Yeah, and actually, so when you look at people with obesity, prediabetes, and type 2 diabetes, they're actually low or entirely missing those microbes that do that processing and stimulate GLP-1. And so then what they lose is 2 things. They lose that signaling to insulin, and they lose that signaling to the brain. So it is like they're missing these, and so they're not getting GLP-1 expression at the right time.
What's the reigning theory on how someone could be missing those? Why would someone be missing those when so many others have them?
There's a wide variety of things that can cause you to become depleted in those strains. The first is antibiotics.
Okay.
The second is your diet. So if you don't eat like fibers and polyphenols, you're not feeding them. And so that's the second reason. But then there's a lot of stuff that's pretty like out of your control. So stress can cause you to become depleted. Aging can cause you to become depleted. Travel, like circadian rhythms, so when day becomes night and night becomes day, that can cause you to become depleted. And actually, hormones can cause you to become depleted. So like when women go through menopause, you become depleted. And so these are all just part of life that cause you to become depleted. And so there's a lot of reasons people might not have them. But antibiotics and diet are kind of the 2 most prominent ones.
Wow. Antibiotics and diet. So it's not, we don't see a big genetic marker that like, oh, this person makes a certain protein that's killing them.
Well, I mean, that's actually a great question. I think that research is still too early to know the answer to that.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
We are supported by Allstate. Checking Allstate first could save you hundreds on car insurance. That's smart. Not checking which platform you watch that new show on, so frustrating. 15 minutes later, you've logged into 7 apps, reset 2 passwords, and still haven't found it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Potential savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate North American Insurance Co. and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois. We are supported by HubSpot. Did you know that most businesses, Monica, only use 20% of their data?
That's like reading a book with most of the pages torn out.
Yeah, or paying for a coffee that's 1/5 full.
Yuck.
Point is, you miss a lot unless you use HubSpot. Their customer platform gives you access to the data you need to grow your business. The insights trapped in emails, call logs, and transcripts, all that unstructured data that makes all the difference. Because when you know more, you grow more. And when you get a full cup of coffee, you can do more too. But I digress. Visit HubSpot.com today.
When's the apex for microbes in your body? I didn't realize that they just diminish throughout time too, which is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you think about when were you sort of at your optimal performance across the board?
You could rewind this podcast. I probably say on every 10th episode. When I was 26, I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I ate every single meal at 7-Eleven, the 2-for-1 chili dogs, and I got drunk every night.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I felt pretty fucking good. And
Yeah.
I'm 51. I haven't drank in 21 years, and I have a perfect diet. And a lot of mornings are rough. And I'm like, how could this be? Or I have an autoimmune condition now, and I have allergies to food I never had. I'm like, I used to live like a trash can, and
Yeah.
it didn't bother me. And
Yeah.
is that my microbes were banging back then?
Yes. And actually, I would say this. People ask me all the time, like, what is a healthy gut? And a healthy gut is a resilient gut. So it means like you had the most resilient gut that, then you could do all kinds of things that were assaulting it, and it was like could make it through that and be fine. And as you were probably depleting it in lots of different things through your diet, or lack of things that you're eating in your diet, then you got a less resilient gut, and now you're dealing with the repercussions of that. But the good news is actually you can change your microbiome. Even now, like all the time, you can change it. So whatever you're depleted in, like let's say food sensitivities is a really common thing that happens as people age. And we know there's a strain called Akkermansia muciniphila.
Oh, say it one more time. It's sexy.
That was really cool.
Akkermansia muciniphila. It is the only strain we know that's actually responsible for maintaining the structure of the gut lining directly. So like your gut lining is sort of like a wooden fence. Okay, now you have to excuse me because I'm like not a carpenter, and people have actually told me this is a terrible analogy. But I'm going to say it because most people still understand it, even if the technically this isn't how fences work.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you imagine a wooden fence that has all these wooden planks and they're held together by glue, what can happen over time is that glue can start to weaken, a plank can fall, and now you have like a gap in your fence. Yeah. The structure of your gut lining is actually exactly like that. So you have these planks, these epithelial cells, they're held together by glue, and over time that glue can start to weaken and you can get an opening or plank can fall, and then you get what people call like leaky gut.
Syndrome.
And then you're sensitive to foods because your body, like stuff is just leaking out and it's causing all these kind of reactions in your body that shouldn't be.
Your body's a miracle in that it is a completely sealed system.
Yeah.
But you have this tube that's running through the dead center of this sealed system. You can think of a water weenie. That's going to be my analogy,
I like
right?
water weenies.
Do you remember water weenies?
I don't know
They
what
weren't
water
It's
called
like a
that.
long balloon. No, I think they were.
To you, they were.
In Michigan,
in your
they were.
family, yeah.
It's a rectangular balloon filled with water.
Okay.
But the inside you can put your fingers in, and you can roll it in and out of
The
itself.
whole, remember they
You've
fall
played with
out
one
of
for
your
sure.
hands.
Yes.
They're hard to hold.
What are they
wanna-
called?
Water weenies are what they were called when I was a kid.
Okay. Yeah, I know that. Right.
So your body is like that, and your body is this master of none of it. We don't want foreign things just entering the body willy-nilly. So it goes down this tube in the dead center of our body, and then our body is masterful of pulling everything out it needs and allowing it through this lining, absorbing it in, right?
Yep.
And then things can go wrong, and now we're letting in things that aren't supposed to be in there.
Exactly, letting things in and out. Right, and exactly to your point, it's very structured and organized and deliberate. And so when you have a hole in there, then you lose all that regulation. And so Akkermansia is the only strain known that lives literally right at that lining, and it strips away that glue when it gets old, and it makes new glue, and it keeps your gut lining intact. And so it's one of the key strains you lose as you age, and so you can actually supplement it.
Wait, does Pendulum make this exact?
We were the first company to be able to manufacture and brought it to market. Now there's a lot of like copycats. And by the way, so just as a like buyer beware, if you go on Amazon and you type this strain name in Akkermansia, you're going to see a bunch of things on there that say Akkermansia. And one of my friends is a professor at Cornell. He just bought a bunch of them and sequenced them. And he was like, Colleen, the only product that actually has Akkermansia is yours.
That's
So just be careful.
Yes, and I was going to save my pushing back, but I watched a great segment on 60 Minutes, and they had about gut health and the microbiome and the promise of probiotics and prebiotics and all this stuff. And most of the experts said, look, yes, this stuff can work, but we can't even get it to where it needs to be because the body's your stomach's killing all this stuff you're taking as a supplement, and it needs to be in your lower intestine. It's not going to get there. Like, isn't that part of the problem is keeping the bacteria you would like to land in a certain spot alive?
Yeah. That's the other thing to look for when you look at the capsule that the things are in. So like we pay more for the capsule. It is enteric coated, which means it gets through the stomach acid, and it's time delayed release, which means it gets all the way to the distal colon.
Where it needs to go.
And so you need both those because otherwise it's just going to your stomach, the acid's killing it.
You spent $8 to kill this shit in your,
And a lot of times that's why we tell people take your probiotic with food is because that actually does decrease the acidity of your stomach, and so it can like even help the probiotics get through.
Wow, that's
interesting.
Fascinating. So, and how good are the results of that? I don't want to get too excited, but I want to get excited right now because this is clearly what I have.
Yeah. Well, you should take the product and let's talk in 90 days.
And one.
Yeah, let's see.
I'll do a little experiment on
I'll do
myself.
one too.
Yeah, and do it too. And here's the key. The key thing is the 1-2 punch. So your microbiome is very tied to the food that you eat. And so it's like a high-performing vehicle. You want an awesome engine and you want to put awesome fuel into it. You can't have like just one half of that. So the microbiome, you're going to get Akkermansia, that's the engine part. And the fuel that's going to be the high-octane fuel that you want is fibers and polyphenols. So you can either do it in supplement format.
Polyphenols are in olive oil, right?
Yeah, polyphenols are in olive oil, berries, if you eat those.
I eat so many blueberries. You'd be so proud of me.
I need more
Dark
fiber.
chocolate.
Okay,
Hey, that's more you. You could
Yeah.
I need more fiber, and I don't know if I should start taking supplements. In my head, I don't want to do that. I just want to get it through food, but I'm not getting it through food.
It's really hard actually to get how much fiber you're supposed to get through foods.
Yeah.
And so it's not cheating if you're like supplementing fiber through a supplement. So you should just
do it.
think about that. And actually, we are launching a product in March, which is called Gut Fuel, which is a mix of fibers and polyphenols specifically designed to feed these because not everybody can get it in their diet.
Yeah,
you know?
it's hard.
And it is hard. Like how many people can do farm to table at every meal and have like
And you have to have this much protein,
Pounds
this
of
much
kale,
this, and
yeah.
this. So how much? I mean, how am I supposed to
And
eat?
I don't want to like already expose the whole interview we do with Angela Duckworth, but I'm reading her book right now, and it's all about environment and the power of environment. And this 3-box modeling of how your brain works, which is you have a situation followed by a thought, then followed by a response. And people want to have lots of agency in the thought, in the response, but we know statistically the changing the box of the environment is infinitely more successful in anything you would tackle. So even GLP-1, she talks about this great physician who was reticent to go on it because he wants to have willpower. And it's like you can think of the GLP-1 as an the environment changer. And so, yeah, there's no like this the stupid shame we have about trying to only use willpower when there's these other levers we can pull is so weird about us.
It's true. The shame, and then also we had a customer who I got a chance to talk to him, and it was an awesome story. So he's basically like, look, I have always had an addiction to sugar. I have always had a sweet tooth. Like that's just me. Like that's just my weakness.
It's identity.
That's me.
Yes,
That's
it's
my
his
identity.
identity,
That's
yeah.
me. So then he started taking, we have a product called Pendulum Glucose Control, which is helps you lower your A1C and blood glucose spikes.
This is what Halle Berry was on when she was on. She talked about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. That's what she's on. And it stimulates your natural GLP-1. And one of the things that people feel most is it reduces your cravings.
Right.
So this guy was on it for his diabetes. And he said, I just want to tell you, I just went through Christmas and I could sit at a table with a plate full of cookies and I didn't eat a single one. And I realized, and he broke down. He's like, that wasn't me. That was my microbes sending signals to my brain that I should eat sugar. And it was like a crazy, he had an epiphany about who he was and who he wasn't.
Wow.
And it was his environment. It was his environment inside himself.
Yeah.
I think because we're a social primate, we're so hardwired for shame. It's such a great mechanism for social cohesion. And I think we go to it
Yeah.
immediately. It's like
Yeah.
any kind of shortcoming we have is like, it must be me. I must be doing something wrong. Even
Right.
the psoriatic arthritis, that's my autoimmune. It was like my shame of I fucked up my body and I rode motorcycles and it's gotta be my fault. All my joints are on fire.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna look into it because clearly I just deserve this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's weird,
It
right?
is. We're
Yeah.
so I'd say that's a
Yeah.
bug, not a feature.
Yeah.
Other
That's
than the
true.
social cohesion. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about how it works initially in the birthing canal because I think it's interesting to know that, of course, when we are in the womb initially, we don't have any microbes. We're not born with microbes. We're not. We don't grow with microbes.
Well, it turns out there might be a couple in there.
There might be a couple in there, right?
Yeah,
but we're
yeah.
getting them
That's
from
good.
mom, is my point. Generally, mom's going to give us her microbes, yeah?
Yeah. That's the first seeding. Yeah.
So walk us through that, how you end up with this colony of microbes that should be helping you.
Yeah, so when you're in your mother's womb, it is mostly sterile. There's a few microbes in there people are now discovering, but it's not in anything. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that. We don't really know what are those microbes and what are they doing. And so there probably is something relevant happening there.
Yeah.
The first real seeding of your microbiome is delivery through the vaginal canal. And so that's when you get like your first seeding of all these microbes. And then the next is like most babies, as soon as they're born, they go straight to breast milk. And so then breast milk becomes the second place. And so if you're born by C-section, you don't get that first seeding through the vaginal canal. And so that's a depletion. And like there are some people who will try to, replicate that.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, they'll
you?
take
A
vaginal
vaginal
fluid and
yeah.
rub it
And
on
rub
the
it on the baby.
chest and the baby, and then when the baby feeds.
Yeah, to try to get that all started.
Now, I've known this part, but I didn't know that part of that is fecal matter that you're getting in the.
It's like kind of mostly that.
It's mostly
really?
the baby's eating fecal matter.
It's
What?
Yeah.
see, it's not gross.
It's not gross, but
It's the animal kingdom. It's it's the natural thing.
Beautiful.
the baby is eating it as it comes through the vaginal canal?
Well, the baby's mouth isn't closed. This is going through the whole.
It's
like
trying to breathe. and
yeah,
eating.
it's like it goes in. Yeah.
Ew.
It gets its own. That's
It's-
the problem. It can get a meconium. What's it called?
yeah.
It
Yeah.
can get its own.
And then that's bad,
That's
though,
bad.
right?
That's not good.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, I think what we realize is there's a few key strains that they need to get during that time. And there's actually companies that are developing those strains. So if you don't want to do the vaginal swab and you have a baby born by C-section, or even if you want to bolster their microbiome, you can kind of deliver them these specific strains early on. And then mother's breast milk is a ton of it is actually the prebiotics, which is the food that feeds your microbiome.
Okay.
And so there's a ton of that in it. But then getting back to Akkermansia, mucinophila, they have never been able to find that on any food. It's not like in yogurts or sauerkraut. You can't find it on any single food. The only place they've actually found it is in mother's breast milk.
By the way, I wasn't breastfed.
And you weren't breastfed, so maybe you didn't have even the initial seeding. The idea is that you get it from your mom, and then you spend the rest of your life trying not to lose this thing.
Right.
Fuck.
I
And
wish
I
we
can't
could
have
make-
breast. What if I had breast milk now?
Well, you could also just take the supplement. But you
Yeah,
can
but-
take breast milk if you wanted.
Well,
It
I'm
does have
just
a lot of
curious.
prebiotics.
Would that populate
Would it?
my
Yeah.
gut? Why wouldn't it? Or would it?
Yeah, it should be able to.
Okay, if you're out there and you're nursing,
I wish
I've talked to my
I wish
wife.
that got more like I wish we were able to just drink it. My brother's girlfriend is pregnant.
Oh,
and
talk to her about.
I did joke. I was like, I know I've heard it's liquid gold. Like I'll pay.
It's a whole new business model.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's Wet Nurse 2.0.
Yeah,
Wet Nurse for
exactly.
adult.
I wish our bodies could make it without having to be pregnant.
Yeah.
You know, I wish there was a way to like I could just.
So you're like
start
feeding
doing it.
yourself.
But you can't give
Yeah.
yourself it.
Oh,
Yeah. You
That's
can't give yourself something you don't have. That's why they always say you can't give someone else something you don't have.
okay. So
if you
then
don't love
that's interesting
yourself.
though. So if someone is breastfeeding, and they themselves were born from a C-section,
Would they be able to pass it
do
on?
they even have it in their breast milk?
Well, it's like one of the interesting questions about, when you have a mom who has obesity or diabetes, they're more likely to have a kid with that.
Environmental has always been the explanation.
Right. And microbiome is like environmental.
Yeah.
Part of the question is like, okay, if you don't have the right starting microbiome as a mom, are you screwing your kid because you're not giving them all the initial, because the first initial thing is through the vaginal canal, the second is breast milk.
Yeah.
And that's all they get until they start eating food, right?
And can I ask, do we have any sense of what that percentage is? I'm asking selfishly because both my children were C-section. And this is something my wife and I talk about. Like, what did they miss,
They were
What
breastfed.
percentage? They were breastfed.
Yeah.
But what percentage are you picking up from the vaginal canal and which percentage is coming from breast milk? Do we have any sense of that?
The vaginal canal is mostly the bacteria themselves, and the breast milk is mostly the food.
Okay.
And so that's like the body, like that's how it takes, right? It gives you the strains initially, and then the food is coming from the mother's breast milk.
Okay.
But it's possible, even if they were delivered by C-section, that they were able to get these strains. I mean, unless they have some kind of health problem that you're aware of.
Oh, no.
And this is the question about resilience, or how some people are able to be fine with that, and then other people end up having lifelong chronic illnesses, right? We don't know the answer to that. And that could have to do with the person's genetics or the proteins they're making and things like that.
Okay, so that's one step. And then, of course, back to multitudes, learn that people who have pets in their home have more microbes and a greater variety of microbes. And people with pets in their home have lower allergy rates.
Yeah, it's actually specific to dogs.
Dogs, yeah, I should have said
Because
pets.
actually when you have cats, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay, so dogs.
Yeah, those cats are. Stupid.
They're out there gathering.
That's how I feel. I'm like a massive dog person. And I used to give these talks, and I would be like, this amazing study that shows that if you have dogs, you have a better, more diverse microbiome.
When
There's
you're a
less
kid,
allergies.
is that-
Anytime. So like if you don't have a
Anytime.
dog, you should go get a dog. But for cats, it doesn't make a difference whether you have a cat or not.
Interesting. One thing before we get too far ahead, because I know that
know.
we're gonna get comments
About?
from moms, because this is very sensitive. It's sensitive. Moms who couldn't breastfeed or didn't
Sure.
breastfeed,
Yeah.
and then also had C-sections because the emergency C-section, whatever. That they're gonna there's going to be like some fear and probably some like, my kid's perfect, that kind of thing. I just foresee it.
So first of all, your kid might be perfect because there are these situations. Obviously, not every born by C-section is, has these, and also not all babies who are on antibiotics end up with obesity and diabetes, right? So that clearly that's not the case.
Yeah.
It's just that there's a higher, risk or statistical significance associated with having those later down the line, and we there's a rationale for why that is.
Yeah.
But I think most formulas are designed to have these prebiotics in them. So the formulas are pretty good.
Okay,
good.
But I will tell you one thing about this. One of the mistakes I made that I wish I had known was I pumped a lot of my breast milk and froze it. And then so that, first of all, my husband could participate in feeding the children, but then also while I was at work, like whatever. So what happens when you take that out of the freezer and you like heat it up and then you feed the baby? Well, if you're like a mildly impatient person like me, you put that thing on high and you like throw it in, you're like, okay, things can be like ready in 4 seconds. Then you kind of swish it around, you give it to the baby. And that's actually really bad because when the temperature is too high, you're actually degrading a bunch of proteins in there and whatever Akkermansia was in there, like the microbes are all getting unfolded and killed by that heat. So just that would be the biggest learning lesson that I wish I had known when I was
Great
That's
tip.
a great tip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and good to know about formulas.
But I do want to address the mom thing too, because I actually think we talked about shame earlier. Like nobody should feel guilty about having had to do a C-section versus a vaginal birth or formula feeding versus breastfeeding. That's just early start to life things where you can optimize, but it's like these are all recoverable. And that's the beauty of the microbiome is that you are constantly changing it and you can constantly change it for the better. So there's always hope. It's not like your genes where you're kind of like,
This is what you get.
Yeah, like this is what I'm predisposed to. I can't do anything about it. The microbiome, you can change. So,
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about the communication network, the body's communication network, and how it's working with food and metabolism and hormones and mood. How this is like I think we've all grown up thinking like your brain's in this, behind a blood-brain barrier and it's its own little separated thing. And we always thought of things very compartmentalized and we're more and more realizing, no, this is all one big self-organizing complex system that's all communicating. So how is your gut regulating a lot of things that we wouldn't normally think that it is?
So if we want to hone on the gut-brain connection, first of all, your brain is kind of kept in a secure location, and the signaling to it and from it is pretty well
fortified,
regulated and fortified. Yeah, for that's good.
Yeah, we don't want leaky brains.
You don't want leaky brain syndrome. Well, not yet. Yeah, but your gut and your brain are actually tied together through a
Vagus
connector,
nerve?
a highway called the vagus nerve, right? And it turns out that your gut makes a ton of neurotransmitters. The first thing that people discover is like your gut makes a ton of neurotransmitters. So like serotonin, dopamine, GABA. And they're like, why would your gut be making all this stuff? So, and it literally can send those through the vagus nerve to the brain. I think that's interesting. But the more interesting thing is that there's actually neurons in your gut. Yeah. And so the neurons in your brain, we all know, like you kill them, they don't come back, you're kind of done. But the neurons in your gut, they're not like that. They regenerate. They're constantly regenerating. And so that's really cool because that's a source of new neurons, right? Yeah. And then the last really interesting thing is that like I started my research career in Parkinson's disease. We're always looking at these plaques in the brain. Alzheimer's is the same thing. You kind of get these plaques in the brain. You're like, how do I get rid of these? Well, it turns out those plaques appear to show up in the gut neurons first.
No way.
So there's a theory that your gut neurons get messed up, then they're sending misfires to the brain, and so you could actually target the gut for things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's to prevent them from getting to the brain.
That's incredible.
It's crazy.
We're enlisted in a Alzheimer's study from Dr. Richard Isaacson.
What are you taking?
Well, we're not. We're just, so we keep getting our blood drawn, and he
sends it all over the world. We get the most elaborate panels back you've ever seen. But he has this on stuff. I'm on omega-3s, and I'm on a different Zeta. Like it's not a statin, but it works.
Yeah,
in
I'm
conjunction
on a statin.
with.
No.
So we are
That's
on
true.
things.
Yeah, and he's
you've
monitoring.
been prescribed a lot of behavioral adjustments.
Yeah.
That you're in progress on.
I
needs to add some
paused.
muscle mass.
Yeah, exactly. It was like your ratios, and then I got on a statin after that.
But we've interviewed him, and I didn't hear anything about this gut thing,
this
which is
is
fascinating.
cool.
Is the amyloid in there too? Is that what it is?
Those are those plaques. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if he's a practicing physician, this is too early for him to be able to put something into practice.
Got
So everything I just told you, like, okay, so now what? Like, there's no product that he could give you to,
Right.
so that doesn't exist yet. This is just all the discovery that's happened to date that suggests you could start to target the micro. And there are a lot of companies going after it.
Okay, so the brain is talking to the stomach. And yes, even depression, you think, oh, depression is something in your brain, but not if all the chemicals are made in your stomach.
Yeah, and actually, okay, not to make Akkermansia mucinephila seem like this cure-all, but this paper just got published from this group in Taiwan, and they took, so you can, this is an animal model, so it's not humans, but it's actually really interesting. I didn't realize this about about these mouse models. You can induce stress and anxiety in a mouse model, and they behave like humans. And so what they did in this mouse study is they have like a placebo, which is like just the animal, like nothing happens to it. It's like a normal, happy animal. Then they have a group that they stress out. Then they had a group that they stressed out and they gave Akkermansia to, and then a fourth group that they stressed out and they gave Prozac to. So this is like a head-to-head of Akkermansia to Prozac.
Interesting.
Okay, and so they give you this and then look at your behaviors before and after. And there are 3 behaviors in these animals. And okay, you can stop me anytime if you're like, this is like, you're nerding out way too much.
No.
I think it's fascinating. So there's these 3 behaviors they look at these mouse. The first one is they throw them into a pool of water. And when they do that, the mouse is like immobilized for a second, and then it'll start to swim to like get its way out. And you can actually track how long they're immobilized for. And if you're a healthy mouse, you're immobilized and then you start moving. And if you're stressed or anxious, you actually are immobilized for significantly longer before you start, like it clicks in, you're like, okay, I got to swim. And when you give them Akkermansia or Prozac, they look like the healthy mouse again. You've basically resolved that stress and anxiety behavior. The second behavior they look at is they throw like a new object in the cage, and a healthy mouse will like check it out. It'll be curious, like, oh, what is it? Spend a certain amount of time with it. A stressed or anxious mouse will just like not look at, like leave it in the corner, like maybe it'll check it out, but it doesn't spend hardly any time with it. And if you get that stressed mouse, either Akkermansia or Prozac, it becomes curious again.
Interesting.
And then the third thing they look at is like there's just a certain amount of movement, like, meters per day that the mouse moves around. And so a healthy mouse has a certain amount of movement. A stressed or anxious mouse moves a lot less, like just a lot less active. Yeah. And when you give them Akkermansia or Prozac, they go back to having that normal activity level. So that's all at the behavioral level. And then when you start looking at neurotransmitters, and particularly cortisol levels and markers of neuronal activity, all of those, it's the same thing where the stress out animal has lower levels. And when you give it Akkermansia, even in some cases, it was better than the Prozac.
Really?
So it's like the stress, anxiety, yeah, and I think the theory is it's because Akkermansia makes a ton of GABA, which is known to like help reduce stress
People
and
try
anxiety.
to supplement with GABA,
Yeah.
whether that,
Yeah.
I don't know whether it works or not.
What happens if you double up? Are you allowed to double up?
We had this like funny almost competition going on among our investors. They're like, I take 8 a day. Well, one time I took 12 a day. And you're like, okay, you probably don't need that much. But you could have a whole bottle in one day and be fine. I mean, you have to do all these safety studies to make sure.
But
it's
I mean
not a
more
big
because
deal.
I'm on an antidepressant. So I was like, can I have that and that?
Oh, we have a lot of people who've actually reduced. Okay,
Yeah,
here's my caveat with regulatory.
Yes.
We have not done a clinical trial on this.
Yes.
But we do have customers who have been able to, with the help of their physicians,
Yeah.
reduced how much drugs they're on through improving their microbiome.
So cool.
Well, especially because you're saying you don't get as much fiber and in your diet as you
Exactly.
want. Like there's probably room to like supplement and get those strains more
Back up.
like higher. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Wow, we covered a lot on accident, which is great. Because when why stop at one cookie, we kind of covered that. That's the GLP-1.
Do you think people should not be on GLP-1s and focus more on trying to reactivate these microbes?
No, like I'm not an anti-GLP-1er.
Okay.
I mean, I think like if it's helping you, great. I mean, I do think like personally, I would be nervous to be on a drug like for decades and decades and
Right.
decades. I would want to be like using all the tools in my toolbox.
The craving thing is that story because it is exactly what people who are on GLP-1s say it has happened. Like
Yeah.
it just
Yeah,
don't
the food racket
feel
noise
exactly.
dies
Yeah, the
down.
food noise and right. That's a big deal.
Yeah, we're seeing so many collateral outcomes of it that are so beneficial. Even if you were someone losing 5 pounds, there's also cognition benefits. We've had 30 doctors on here that everyone's pro GLP-1. I mean, there's just every time we do a study, we find out one other benefit from it. Your body is the greatest machine a lot, known to man for homeostasis. Like that's why opiates don't work. It's like you take opiates, they block your pain receptors. Your body's like, great, we got to grow more. We know we got to grow more. You can. It's very hard to outsmart the body. So yeah, anything you're putting in it, the body has a way of generally adjusting back to the baseline.
Well, and that's like insulin, which of course is like one of the most prevalent diabetes treatments. That is what happens. Like your body becomes basically deaf to this signal, and so then you have to get more and more and more. And so, so I'm definitely not against GLP-1s, but I think that we will find all the studies that have been done have been in people with type 2 diabetes. So, like most of the people who are healthy right now and taking them, like they're part of the experiment, and so we don't really know the long-term repercussions. And for you, with your particular profile, what will happen to you, like that individual case-by-case basis, is getting hammered out literally now. And so we're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
I'm already anecdotally seen some friends that have been on it now for 4 and 5 years that the dose went up. Now they're capped off and the plateaus kind of ended. I've certainly watched that happen.
Yeah.
Anecdotally.
GLP-1s?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know a few people that are capped at 15. And that's that. They're not going above 15.
Right.
And the rackets returned a bit.
And so this would be a great time for them to be like, okay, well, what are things I can do to try to stimulate my natural GLP?
Exactly.
What
Yeah.
else? Yeah.
I do think right now maybe there's an uphill battle in the quote optimization space and even like supplements of any kind. I think people are a little fatigued of hearing all these people say like, you got to do this, you got to do this, do this. I'm hearing like, I just don't want to hear about any of that right now. And that's hard because obviously these things are important, but I also kind of get it that we're being thrown a lot of like, this is how you gotta live.
You gotta take these 200 pills every day, or and then you have to do sauna for 20 minutes, and then you have to eat all protein, but also a ton of veggies.
That's what I'm saying.
There's
It's like,
a
oh my
lot
God, it's
to do.
overwhelming.
Yeah. I think that's right, and I think. Look, like we are into creating probiotics and trying to help people via that mechanism. But the truth is, great nutrition will get you there. And so, I mean, there's certain cases like Akkermansia where, look, it would help you to go like 90-day supplementation, but then you don't have to be on our products forever. Like I tell people all the time, do it for 90 days, get the strains in there, and then if you can eat the food that feeds them, you're good to go. And now something else might happen. You have to go on an antibiotic or whatever, get back on it, but you don't have to be on this thing for the rest of, you don't have to take this every day for the rest of your life.
Right.
Unless you're like, hey, I can't get the food that I need, or this is just easier for me, like great. But if not, you can do it through nutrition. That gets you there. And so, and that's true with a lot of these supplements.
And it has the advantage of the bacteria is not going to trigger this thing we were talking about in the body, which is it's just really good at leveling off. It's really good at, figuring out a way to not take this medicine intervention or to become immune to it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not
evolving.
how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to up your dosage of this or that. Once it's colonized and functional.
You've now got its own ecosystem, and you're just keeping it going, keep it thriving. Yeah.
Okay, what about microbiome as a public health tool? Or we talk about population level interventions, and how can we maybe start to attack some of these kind of big public health concerns with microbiome? 88% is the stat that was given to me of people are metabolically unhealthy.
Yeah, and so right. So if we're talking specifically about metabolic health, I mean, this is like a huge. First of all, we don't need anybody to tell us like obesity and diabetes. This is a massive global problem that is not actually getting better, even though we have lots of products out there. In fact, like a lot of people know, GLP-1s have been around like forever.
Yeah.
And a lot of endocrinologists continue to prescribe, insulin and metformin because those are the things that have been around for a long time. And it wasn't until like regular people realized, hey, wait a minute, that's what made it popular.
Yeah.
And so, first of all, there's a lot of tools out there that people aren't using. And you have to ask the question, why? What is it about what we're doing now that is keeping that from being able to work? 88% of people are metabolically unhealthy. You might be thin, but you're actually metabolically unhealthy. And then you might be obese and you're definitely, know that you're metabolically unhealthy.
We've had an incredible success in vaccines. We've saved billions of people with that breakthrough. Antibiotics has saved hundreds and hundreds of millions of people. But we've reached a point where what most people are dying from are these 4 chronic conditions. Diabetes, heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's. These are all metabolic conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, and what we know, and again, you don't need a scientist to tell you this, but you know that as you age, your ability to metabolize sugars gets worse, right? And your metabolism slows down, and everybody experiences that.
Hangovers get worse.
Hangovers get worse.
Yeah.
You get food sensitivities, like all of that is happening. So I think fundamentally, the problem is that everyone says you can reverse diabetes and obesity simply by eating well and exercising. Well, it turns out it's not that simple to eat well and exercise.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's the shame of like, well, why can't you control yourself? If you could, you would be able, like, this is all on you. This is your
Right.
fault.
Yeah.
And I think the microbiome unlock is that even for somebody like Halle Berry, you know they're exercising, they're eating well, like they're definitely doing that, and they're regimented about it. Even for them, how could they have a benefit from a microbiome intervention? Because you've just lost these microbes for reasons that we listed earlier. And so the big unlock and the epiphany of the microbiome is that might be a tool. You might be doing all those right things, or you might be able to reduce your cravings simply by having the right microbiome and optimizing that. And so I say, like, you know, if people listen to this and there's just one thing you take away, it's like become more aware about your microbiome and give it 90 days. Like try for 90 days. And if you feel a difference, and normally it's like in food cravings and then sustained energy. Those are the two biggest things we hear. Because if you're not on like a sugar spike and crash all day long, you just have sustained energy throughout the day. You don't get the post-lunch slump. You don't get brain fog. And some people experience better sleep, but your energy is just better. If you don't experience anything in 90 days, like move on, like it's something else. But you should try it.
Yeah.
Okay, now selfishly, I want to ask this. I'm one of the few people that's trying to promote Diet Coke.
Besides Coke.
Exactly.
Yes,
The
great
Coca-Cola
point.
company, yeah.
Yes, people love to say that Diet Coke destroys the microbiome. Is there any evidence of that?
Yeah, this basically gets down to like all of the alternative sugars and what are they doing to the microbiome.
Yeah.
So there are definitely good studies and evidence that those artificial sweeteners change your microbiome. Mm-hmm. And then that's the end of the sentence.
Right.
So like
For
we
better
don't
or
know.
worse, we
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
every
Yeah, yeah.
individual, is it better? Is it worse? Like what does it mean? And your microbiome is evolving. Like what does that mean for the other things that you're eating? Like, so that's what we know.
We just know it changes and we don't
But people
really know.
love to people love the storyline of like, oh, it's killing you, it's so bad for you. Like, well, the data has not come out on that yet.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
How did Halle Berry come to be involved?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know that Halle Berry has diabetes herself and has been able to manage it pretty well. But she can tell the story about like how she came to discover Pendulum through the Cleveland Clinic and tried it, which is like pretty crazy because she gets pitched stuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
And we were like a brand new company at the time. I just can't even believe she'd be like, sure, I'll do it. So she went on and her A1C went down. And she kind of has said to me, like, look, there's a lot of things that can have like a temporary effect. And so I wanted to be on it for a while to like see what happened. And it stayed down.
1 point maybe the first year and then 2 points?
Yeah,
by
like
this,
crazy.
Oh my God.
But that means nothing to me. How do we measure this? A point is a big deal,
A point is a huge. A
Yeah,
point could be the
huge.
difference between having diabetes and not having. It's like a huge number. What happens when you have diabetes is that your body can't metabolize glucose. And so you have a bunch of glucose molecules just like in your body. And so what your body does is it basically attaches it to your blood molecules, your HbA1c, like are actually blood cells, and it just attaches them to it. And so what we realized is that you can measure how many of your red blood cells have a glucose attached to it, and if it has above a certain percentage, well, you have diabetes.
Yeah.
And so I can't remember the numbers. They sometimes change. But basically, I think like 5%, and above, like that's not really great. And it can get all the way, you'll see people like 12, 14%.
Yeah.
That's like really bad.
Right.
But most people, I think, are sitting in the like 8 to 11 range. And you'd like, so getting down a point is like a pretty big deal.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
My dad is he monitors this constantly because he's like pre-diabetic, and it's always like, I'm sending him this. This is really exciting.
Yeah, so that's what she experienced, and she
Yeah.
was like, okay. So then she said, I want to know about this company. Like, I want to meet the founder. So I get a call that says, Halle Berry would like to meet you. I was like, is this my brother? Like, fuck off. So I get on this call, and and it's intimidating to like be on a call with Halle Berry.
She's tough too. We interviewed her. She's a badass.
She's so cool.
She's super smart. She's not like accidentally this successful, right?
Yeah.
Like she's super smart. And so she basically said, look, I love this product and what you've built, and it's helped me, and I know it can help a ton of other people. But like you don't know anything about building a brand, and I know how to. Like I'm kind of like good at that.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to help you. Like, how can I help you build the brand this company and build awareness around it? It was just such a genuine, like, I want to help people and I want to help you help people moment. She became an investor in the company. We gave her like a title of communications officer. She was like, first things first is like, this packaging is terrible. And I was like, I mean, it's not that, it's just a bottle. Who cares? And she's like,
exactly.
Yeah, she's like, this is why you need me. And so she's like, look, it's true. It's what's on the inside of the bottle that counts. But
no.
You got to get people to like want to buy it.
You can explain 90% of Mac's success, Apple's success in packaging.
And
Steve knew.
Yeah. Well, and then, but I didn't know, and I guess I didn't learn. Yeah. And so she was like, look, it just matters. And so there's like, she came up to San Francisco. We met with we like tried all these different packaging. We actually went through multiple iterations. The first one we launched was unsuccessful. Like, it's actually been really cool to get to work with Halle, to see like how she's super entrepreneurial, which I think you have to be a successful actor. But she also is able, like, really interested in learning and iterating. And so the packaging was an interesting one because like we worked so hard on this thing. She was so proud of it. She put all these like social media posts out around it, and then we got this feedback that people didn't like it, and it was like hard to open if you were a guy. The whole thing was Petri dish inspired. It was the exact dimensions of Petri dish, which you're like, that's so cool.
That is.
And you open it like this. But it turns out, if you're a woman, that's no big deal. But if you're like have choppy hands, like they were like spilling it everywhere, they couldn't open it.
They're dumping their microbes
Yeah, like their meaty
everywhere.
hands. The probiotics are going
everywhere.
everywhere. And the retention, which is like people retain on our products, like for that's actually our primary business is retained customers. And so the retention was lower for that.
Interesting.
So I have to like get on this call with Halle and be like, people don't like it.
It was a great idea,
and
but
it's not great for the business, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really different. Like when you put out a movie, you're not like, oh, people don't like it. Let's just take it back and redo it and put it back out again. Yeah. That's not a thing. And so I was like, okay, so we need to like take this off the market and like do it again. Yeah. And she was like, all right, we got to listen to people. We got to like, we're here to like serve people. And if they don't like it, let's do it. And I was like, okay, so and then we just did a new packaging launch this July, and it has been awesome. Like people literally, the old customers that have been with us for years, they were like, I was always on your side about like packaging doesn't matter, but actually it does. It's really like this.
I have a beer company. We lose money because I want the package to be so great, and I want the can to be so cool when you grab it. It's like.
It is, and especially for like something you're consuming and something that you're having a daily interaction with, right?
Yes.
You know, that feeling that you get is in the packaging.
It matters.
The emotion of it.
The emotion of it. And so I'm grateful to her for kind of bringing like, what does the brand experience need to feel like alongside, you know, obviously the product and the science behind it. Yeah. And so she's been an amazing partner. We've been partners now for like 4 years. We've known each other. Yeah. And she's like, whatever, she's awesome.
It's so frustrating that you even have to think about that, really, because you're like, the thing works. Can people just forget about this other piece and just take, and eventually they do when it's like, when they do take it and they like it. But getting people to pick it up off the shelf or go to the website is hard.
Well, look,
I'm
a regular consumer of Aleve because of the autoimmune thing, the aforementioned. And they make one bottle with like a rubber top that's red. I love it. Yeah. I'll spend more. It's the same fucking Aleve in the bottle, but I got to reach in and grab it. And I like that experience. And I don't like the other one of pinching the thing and doing the whatever.
Yeah. It matters. Well, and I mean, probably the most compelling thing is there are other probiotics out there that have beautiful packaging and great marketing and branding, but their ingredients are basically the same as everything else out there. And she's like, you're losing to these competitors, and it's just packaging.
And they don't even have the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, Colleen, I like you.
Me too.
You're fun.
I'm so
not
excited
shocked you're
to
from
try
Atlanta.
this.
Most people I know from Atlanta are really cool.
Yeah.
1.5 generations.
That's right.
Yeah, I only know 1.5 generation non-white folks from Atlanta, so that's maybe just more a comment on that.
We're going to try it, and we're going to, I'm excited.
we're the only probiotics company that the Mayo Clinic has invested in, and they've invested in multiple rounds in us.
Yeah.
We are sold through over 30,000 healthcare practitioners. So that's like doctors that are recommending the product.
Yeah.
And we just got the #1 GI doctor recommended Akkermansia brand. And so when you go on and you're like, but how do you get like those crystal bullet points? It's like still a lot of words,
Yeah,
right?
and you don't want your product to be just a bunch of writing all over it.
Yeah. How do you make people feel like this is the cutting edge thing without all those words?
That's right. And that's emotional and it's visual and it's actually not as intellectual as we think it is. It's kind of we get a feeling right away.
Exactly. And so I will say, like, my biggest weakness is that as a scientist, I'm thinking, like, how do you get people to love it, like, cranially, like what I just listened to you guys, like, oh, that would obviously make you believe.
Yes.
And so I am actively looking for help from people who are like actually viscerally, this is what and so to the point about clean lines, like the new packaging, it feels soft when you touch it. So it actually has like a soft touch to it. And it just has the name of the product on the front and all the like words about what's in it and all this. It's actually on a packaging that you throw out. The bottle itself is really clean and feels good. And so I'm like, but okay.
I'm going to have my dad on it, and I'm going to be reporting back on his levels.
I'm going to be like
his A1C
bugging you guys
levels.
and asking you to help me.
Yeah, I'm selfishly just wanting to put me on it.
Yeah.
Like if I could
I'm
eat
getting on it,
gluten
too.
again,
Oh, that'd be so
if I could
cool.
eat garlic again.
Yeah, I know. Garlic, you're really missing out on garlic.
My life is half as good since I quit eating garlic.
You can't eat garlic right now.
That's
right
rough.
now. Yet.
Let's get it back.
Well, it's lovely meeting you. This is
Yeah,
such a
for
fascinating
coming.
topic. I think a lot of people are very interested in this. But again, it's one of these things we keep it. It's like CRISPR comes out, whatever the first NPR thing I heard was like 13 years ago. And I think, oh my God, overnight they're going to fix, all these genetic disorders. And when is it happening? And then you hear like this microbiome, we make all these links, but it's like, when is it going to actually start helping us? But I do know we're on the cusp of all these things, but it can get a little fatiguing. Like, when is it going to happen?
When's it going to happen? And actually, one thing that doesn't happen can set the whole industry back. And like CRISPR is a good example of that. Like gene therapy was like really hot. There was like one adverse event, and then everyone's like, went ice cold on it, and then it comes back in the form of CRISPR. So like these things happen. It takes a long time to change our biology, as it turns out. Yeah. But that's why I think for us it was so exciting to have this intervention that can lower A1C and lower blood glucose spikes, as well as essentially a pharmaceutical, but it's this microbiome intervention. And one huge difference between our company and all the other companies that have been going after it with discovery platforms and doing real science, like, I don't want to like bash anybody, but most of the consumer products aren't actually doing real science and investing in that. And almost every one of the microbiome companies that's investing in science is doing a drug path. We are like the weirdos. We're the ones who've done all the science but are bringing it to consumers. And so that ability to have a new microbiome intervention that can help, it's the first and only probiotic that can help with diabetes. And so
that's so cool.
I'm super excited for you guys to try that.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thanks for coming.
This is great. Yeah, thank
it was
you
so
guys.
fun. Yeah, our pleasure.
Yeah, great to meet you.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.